Hallo liebe Freunde und Zuschauer und willkommen zurück bei German for English Speakers. This is the third part of the mini-series on the cases in German. In the first video, we looked at the nominative and the accusative cases. I had originally planned to do the dative and the genitive together as one video, but then decided to split them into their separate videos. So the second video was the dative, and in this video, we're going to be taking a look at the genitive. Okay, so let's start with a quick review of the nominative, accusative, and the dative. The nominative marks the subject. It's the thing that does the verb. If we want to work out what the subject is in a sentence, we should ask the question, what is doing the verb? For the accusative, that marks the direct object. It's the thing that the verb is done onto. If we want to know what the accusative is, we should ask the question, what is the verb being done onto? For the dative, it marks the indirect object. So it's something being done to someone or something being given to someone. And if we want to work out what the dative is in a sentence, we should ask the question, to whom is something being done? Or to whom is something being given? Genitive, our fourth and final case, marks the possessive object. And I'm going to be using pink for this. The possessive object. Now, what do I mean exactly by possessive object? So, possessive means that we have something that belongs to something else. There's a relationship between two things, right? It shows ownership, right? Let's take a look here. Something that belongs to something else, or something that has ownership of something else. Basically, it's jamming two nouns together and saying there's a link between these things. The bowl of the dog's bowl, that's the genitive, that's the possessive. The bowl belongs to the dog. Those two nouns, they get jammed together, and we say, hey, listen up. There's a relationship between these two nouns. One noun owns another noun. In English, we do this in two ways, right? So either we can do the apostrophe S thing, the dog's bowl, or we can also say the bowl of the dog. Second one's a little bit weird in English, but keep that in your mind because it's going to be quite useful for German. If we want to work out what the genitive is in a sentence, the question that we ask is quite simply, whose? So, whose something is that? So if you think of the example that I just gave, the dog's bowl, if I wanted to work out what the genitive was, I would ask, whose bowl is that? Whose bowl is that? And then the answer would be the dog's, with apostrophe S, the dog's. Okay. So that's basically, actually, let's take that. Let's start with the dog's bowl. The dog's bowl. Be good if I could type. The dog's bowl is dirty. That's easy. Okay. So in this sentence, we have a nominative. The bowl is nominative. There is no accusative because dirty is an adjective, it's not a noun. There is no dative, but there is genitive. And here it is, right there. The dog's bowl is dirty. The other way we can say this, because in English we can swap that around, we can say the bowl of the dog. This sounds a little unusual in English, but very useful for speaking German. I'll come to that in just a second. Let me mark it up. Bowl is still nominative, and of the dog is possessive. It's the genitive. Okay, so these are the two things that we want to look at here. Let's do this just like this. Okay, so actually I'm going to zoom in, really hammer home the point here. Apostrophe S or of, and then a noun, is the genitive in English. The bowl of the dog, the car of my father's car, the serenity of the neighborhood, the 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 librarian's books. Anything that's like apostrophe s with two nouns jammed together, or two nouns jammed together with the word of in between, that's the genitive. That's it. Now, the reason why I say the second one, the the of the dog in our example sentence, the reason why I say this one is more useful is because that is the word order of the German sentence. And that was actually genitive just there. That's the word order of the German sentence. It's the German sentence's word order. I just slipped in that little bit of genitive for you. I hope you appreciate it. Die Schüssel mit Doppel-S, die Schüssel des Hundes ist schmutzig. Ups. Ja, die Schüssel des Hundes ist schmutzig. Okay, so here we have our nominative, the bowl, and here's the genitive, des Hundes. And that is the same as the word order if we use of, right? So we can think of des as of the dog, of the dog. So when you're translating genitive into English, always think of the, of mine, of your, of his, and so on. Okay. Let's see if I can give you a sentence with all four cases. I think it's possible. Let's go for it. Der Mann schreibt. Der Frau. Moment, schreibt dem Mann seine Schwester ein. Okay. Yes, this. Oh, I have man twice. Let's change that to something else. Schreibt dem was? He wrote a letter to the husband of his sister's husband. Yeah, okay. So in this, the first word man, we translate it as man. Okay, so the man writes a letter to his sister's husband. And we can also put that the other way around in English, which is exactly what we're going to do now, to the husband of his sister. Okay. The reason why I'm putting it both ways around is because I really want you as a learner of German to start thinking of the genitive using this word order in English, because it makes things a lot easier. If you think of apostrophe S word order, it makes things a little bit more tricky to translate into German. Okay, so let's start marking this up. So do we have if we're looking at the German sentence, do we have a nominative? Is there something that's doing the verb? Well, indeed there is. There is the man is doing the writing, okay? What is the writing being done onto? Well, it's being done onto, oh, I can't remember my colors. It's blue, shouldn't it? Yeah, it's blue. The writing is being done onto a letter, okay? Now, what's the dative? Well, it's to the man. To whom is this letter being written? It's to the man. That's our dative, which, if I remember correctly, should be green. Yes, it is green. And what's this other noun here? My. This is genitive. Whose husband is that? It's the husband of his sister. It's his sister's husband. Whose husband is that? there's the question that we ask. Let's mark up these English sentences as well. Read for nominative, the man is doing the writing. A letter is the thing that's being written, that the verb is being done onto. Mark that blue. And to his sister's husband. Husband is the dative, which is marked with 2 in English. And husband is also dative. And his sister's, apostrophe S, is genitive. And of his sister is also genitive. Okay, so you get to see the word order here, especially of a sentence that has all 4 cases. Usually you're not going to have all 4 cases in every sentence that you write, but here it's pretty good. So in the last video, I mentioned that the dative should come before the accusative. And that's what we see here. So the dative is coming before the accusative. And you might say, well, the genitive is also coming before the accusative. But actually, what we have to do is to think of this as one unit. And what I mean by that is that it's stuck together. This is one unit right here. So the genitive has to come directly after the thing where the connection is. So basically, it's 2 nouns together with a genitive word in the middle. Let me give you some examples. Das Buch, das Buch, what do I want to say? What am I trying to say? Das Buch des Mädchens. Okay, the girl's book. Der Tisch des Tischlers. The carpenters. Did I spell that correctly? Did spell it correctly. The carpenters. Carpenter's table. I didn't put an apostrophe in the first one. The girl's book. Let's do some other. Was sagen wir dann jetzt? Ja, das Spiel der Männer. The Man's Game. Und was auch noch, der Patient der Ärztin. The doctor's patient. Okay, so the genitive will link 2 nouns together. Look here, we've got Buch and then we've got Mädchen. And linking those 2 nouns is the word des. And that's our genitive right there. So the book belongs to the girl. It's the book of the girl. Des or der is of the. The game of the men. The table of the carpenter. The patient of the doctor. Okay, so all of these bits, let's make them all pink so that we remember where they are. Pink, 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 pink. Yeah. Oh. Okay. So in our example sentence, the genitive is with a dative, with a dative noun. So it comes in this position. But we could have also had a genitive bit connected to the nominative. So instead of just the man, it could be the father of the man is writing a letter to his sister's husband. So you could also have a genitive in here after the man. You could have it here. There could be genitive. You could also have genitive after after Brief, right? It could be the letter of a merchant or something like that. So what's our key takeaway here so far? The genitive connects two nouns together. It shows possession. Something belongs to something else. That's the main takeaway. Okay, with this in mind, what we're going to do now is take a look at the definite articles, the indefinite articles, and the negative indefinite articles. And then we'll talk about something that you might have spotted here already, noun endings. Okay, let's scroll. Okay. Yeah, okay. Sehr gut. So, here are our definite articles. Nominative, we have der, die, das, die. Accusative, we have den, die, das, die. Dative, we have dem, der, dem, den. And remember, if they're bold, that's because they're different from the nominative form, the base form. Now we go into the genitive. Genitive, is that, why am I pronouncing it with a French accent? Should be a nice German accent. Genitive. And let me just copy and paste this now so I don't have to type it out every time. Okay. For the masculine definite article in the genitive, the word is des. For the feminine, it's der. So actually, the feminine dative and the feminine genitive are the same. It's der. For neuter in the genitive, it's des. So masculine and neuter are the same in the genitive. Actually, masculine and neuter are the same in the dative as well. And for the plural, it's der. So the feminine genitive and the plural genitive are the same. So we go der, die, das, die, den, die, das, die, dem, der, dem, den, des, der, der. And what I did when I was first learning German at the age of 15 is I learned all the articles together in that order. So now I can just go der, die, das, die, den, die, das, die, des, der, dem, der, dem, den. In fairness, though, I said the genitive before the dative. But either way, if you can learn all of these and keep them in your head somewhere, they're very, very useful, not just as definite articles, but because they can also help you work out the adjective endings whenever we talk about that later, whenever we come to the chapter on adjectives in my book. Okay, yeah, so des, der, masculine, feminine, neuter, plural. What about the indefinite articles? Well, I think you can already work this out, right? Der has no ending, so it's just ein. Den has an en ending, so it's einen. Dem has an em ending, so it's einem. Des has an es ending, so what is this word going to be? All right, eines. Yeah, perfect. And we would translate that as of a in English, of a cat, of a dog, of a man, of a woman, of a horse, of a I don't know, whatever. Next up, we have do it again, right? I've already told you the dative and the genitive are the same for the feminine. You can do it. Einer. I hope you didn't get that wrong. Okay. And the masculine and the neuter are the same. So, eines. And there is no plural indefinite article. However, there is a plural negative indefinite article. So if you haven't noticed already, the negative indefinite articles are the same as the definite articles. So actually, this table here is the same as the one below, except we're putting a K on it. The reason why I've put these into two separate tables is because I want to show you what the negative plural form is. And once we type this out, we're going to make it a bit more neat so there aren't so many tables altogether. But let's crack on first. So you know what this is, right? Keines. Keiner. Or at least it would be. If I could type keines, keiner, keines, keiner. Nice and easy. Now, so as we have said, there is no plural indefinite article. You cannot say cats, dogs, apples. Doesn't make sense. But you can say no apple. no cats, no dogs. So I'm going to put these in brackets here so that you can see them like this. And like this. Okay. And then I'm going to delete these completely so that we only have two tables. So now you know if you need to say not a or no something, you just put a K on these words. Kein, keiner, keinen. And if it's plural, then I've already written them out for you. So now we only have two tables. That makes life a bit easier. Okay, now we come to something that nobody likes, and that is the noun endings. So actually, let me just copy this table again, and what we'll do is we'll use this table. I just took a table away, and now I'm going to give you another table. Okay, but this is really, 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 really simple, okay? I'm not going to give you a massive headache. Let's start off with the easy stuff. There are no noun endings for masculine, feminine, neuter, or plural. There are no noun endings for accusative. There is one noun ending for the dative, which we talked about in the last video, and that is you add an N. You add an N to the plural noun in the dative. The genitive does have noun endings. So you add S for masculine. For feminine, there's nothing. For neuter, you also add the same as the masculine. And for plural, there's nothing. Okay. So what this means is that if a masculine noun or a neuter noun is being used in the genitive, you'll put an S on the end of it, or possibly an ES. So if you have something that ends in S, can I think of something that ends in S? Oh yeah, okay, well, this isn't S, but it said der Satz. That means the sentence. The sentence. If it was in the genitive, where's my little arrow? It's disappeared. Oh, I don't know where it is. Oh, there it is. Aha. If it was in the genitive, it would be des Satzes, and it would have a little e. And the reason it has a little e is because you can't say and then together. It's too difficult. So we need to bridge the sound. So if a noun ends with a z, an s, a z, a double s, or an s set, one of these, then you also need to add in an e. Otherwise, you just stick an s on the end of it. Although sometimes I do feel that this is a matter of opinion because sometimes nouns don't end with an S, but people put ES anyway. I think it depends on how the noun sounds and if it's easier to just stick an S on the end or if it's easier to bridge the sound a little bit. Okay, so what do we take away from this section? Only masculine and neuter nouns take an S on the end. Feminine and plural nouns do not take an S. Now, we also have to talk about names. In the genitive, if we're using someone's name, then we can actually basically use the same word order as English. So my name is Ruben. Let's say in English, we were saying Ruben's computer, because that's what I'm typing on. So Ruben's with apostrophe S in English would be genitive, and then computer could be nominative or accusative or something. Doesn't really matter. If I wanted to say that in German, I would actually just say Ruben's Computer. Remember that nouns need to be capitalized, and that's it. So if you're using a person's name, you put an S on the end of it. There's no apostrophe in German unless the person's name ends with an S. So let's have Hans. Hans is a good German name. In English, we would say Hans's or Hans's or just Hans Computer, right? And in German, they do exactly the same thing. So Hans Computer should have a capital C. This is the genitive. So yeah, if you're using a person's name, I should really make those apostrophes pink too, so we don't forget. If you're using a person's name, the word order is the same as English. The person's name, and then the noun. A person's name, S, and noun. If the person's name ends with an S, you use an apostrophe. If the person's name doesn't end with an S, there's no apostrophe in German. Okay? Actually, let's type that out so we can see it nice and clearly. Names take an S to show possession with no apostrophe in German unless the name ends in an S. I should actually say if it ends in an S, maybe with a Z as well, you need to have the apostrophe there. Yeah. So names take an S to show possession with no apostrophe in German, unless the name ends in an S. Okay, perfect. Now, let's see. There was something else I was going to mention. Oh yeah, the next thing that I want to mention to you before we move on to the activities is actually let me just demonstrate a point here. I'm going to give you 2 sentences in English. Okay, here are the 2 sentences in English. Both of them mean exactly the same thing. The meaning is exactly the same. The grammar is correct in both of them, arguably. So let me read them. For whom did you buy that gift? Who did you buy that gift for? So if they both mean the same thing and both of them have correct grammar, what's the difference between the two? If someone said to you, for whom did you buy that gift? Would that be normal English? Would that be everyday English? Or would you think, oh, la di da? I think you would think, oh, la di da, right? Because how we would say it normally nowadays is to say, who'd you buy that gift for? That's normal English. But if you look at a grammar book for English, it will tell you that you shouldn't have your preposition at the end. If you're asking a question, the preposition should come with the question word. And English has an accusative version and a dative version of the word who, which is whom, and that should come at the start of the sentence. Then you get to the rest of the sentence. So the first one is book grammar. This is the grammarian's choice. They would say that sentence number 2 is incorrect. But how is it incorrect if basically every English speaker says that? You have to make your own decision on this. I can't tell you one way or the other. So if you think that the first one is too posh and you would never say that because it's too formal or too strange, that's okay. If you look at the second sentence and say, oh, you commoners, and would never say that, that's also okay. The point I'm trying to make here is that there are different registers in languages where we can be formal or informal. And sometimes grammar changes and moves, and things that were once standard start to feel formal. Like, for example, another example from English would be like the word thou. The word thou was actually the informal word for you in English. It was the same as the word du in English. In German, sorry, the word du in German. But now, if we hear the word thou, we think, oh, that's really formal. But it's not. That was actually an informal word. So, what does this have to do with the genitive? Is the key question. Some of you may already know. The genitive is a little bit like this sentence. This sentence doesn't include the genitive, by the way. But what I mean is, when Germans hear the genitive, des Auto meines Vaters, der Tisch des Tischlers, when they hear the genitive, it has a kind of air of formal, proper German. I was going to say the Queen's German, but that doesn't make sense, does it? Goethe's German. Um, the people that you will hear using the genitive when they speak are people who speak properly, and they're very conscious of their language when they speak. So, everyday Germans often feel like if they hear the genitive being used in speaking, they think it's kind of arrogant or upper class, or it's a bit too much. So certainly in writing, especially in formal writing, you should definitely use the genitive. But the everyday German, so the second sentence that I've highlighted, who'd you buy that card for? The everyday German that you would actually hear, they use a different structure. So let's start off with das Auto meines Vaters. Okay, so the car of my father. So let's say this is the equivalent to the English sentence that's emboldened. This is the I speak proper German, right? How do people say this in everyday normal German? That's not so formal and rigid. They say turn the bolding off. Das Auto von meinem Vater. Von meinem Vater. Of or from my father. The car of my father, the car from my father. And this little preposition from allows German speakers to completely avoid using the genitive altogether when speaking. So this structure that you see is actually in the dative. The dative, right? Das Auto von meinem Vater. So they use von and the dative to replace the genitive. So I'm not going to tell you that you should never use the genitive because it sounds too posh. It's up to you. But what I will say is if you want to just speak German naturally and fit in with people, you should use von with the dative, okay, instead of using the genitive, because it's just a bit too posh. Just think of someone saying to you, "For whom did you buy that card, or did you buy that gift? For whom? To whom are you writing that letter? Uh, wherefore are you here?" All of those make you understand, but you think, man, where did this person learn English? This is like a grammarian, right? Much more natural to say things like, who are you writing the letter to? But English grammarians would shout and say, you can't put prepositions at the end of the sentence. And my question, my retaliation is, well, 99% of English speakers do that when they speak nowadays. That's how we use English now. And what I'm talking about here with the genitive in German is this is how German speakers speak German now. The genitive used to be used in writing and speaking all the time in the past, but it slowly got replaced with this von structure. And this is much, much, much more common now when you hear German being spoken. You can still hear the genitive being spoken in formal speeches and in writing. Certainly in writing, the genitive is used quite a lot. But yeah, if you don't want to sound overly posh or arrogant, you might want to avoid using the genitive in spoken German. Okay, that was quite a long ramble, but it's something that you need to be aware of. And hopefully I've made you well aware of that. Okay. In the other videos, I talked about verbs that require us to like take the nominative or use the dative, but there are no verbs that I can think of that require you to use the genitive. There are some prepositions that require you to use the genitive, but we're not going to talk about prepositions in this video because this video is to give you a very quick overview of how the cases work. We will look at the genitive prepositions whenever we come to the chapter on prepositions in my book. So let's cut that out and jump into our activities. So, like always, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read out the sentences. If they're in German, I'll translate them and then give you a chance to pause the video before I provide you with the answers. So, exercise A, Übung A, Genitivformen. Fill in the blanks with the genitive or possessive forms of the nouns indicated. I'm not entirely sure why I wrote of here because genitive and possessive form means exactly the same thing. Okay, so here are the sentences. There are actually 6 blanks that you have to fill in. The first one is a question, and then the second one is a response. Let's read the sentences in German first, and then I'll give you a translation of what they would be in English if they were complete. Okay, Nummer 1. Ist das Haus? Nein, das ist das Haus. In English, if we were translating these and the sentences were complete, it would be, is that the man's house? No, that's the woman's house. Nummer 2. Das ist die neue Freundin. So, das ist Freundin. Okay, so again, if they were complete, the English translation would be, that is the brother's new girlfriend. Ah, that's Klaus's girlfriend. Nummer 3. Ist das Sohn? Nein, das ist der Sohn. Okay, so, and again, if they were complete in English, it would be, is that Karen's son? No, that's the doctor's son. Okay, pause the video now and try to fill in the blanks using the correct genitive forms. I will give you the answers in 3, 2, 1. Okay, so ist das der Haus des Mannes? Yeah, this is one of those ones where you have to add an E. This is what I was talking about earlier. Mans doesn't sound right. Mannes. It needs an ES. Ist das Haus des Mannes? And then this person says, nein, das ist das Haus der Frau. Okay? Haus der Frau. Haus des Mannes. Ist das die Freundin? This is masculine, so it's going to need an S on the end of it. Bruders. Ist das. Why do I keep reading that as it's a question? There's something wrong with my brain. Das ist die neue Freundin des Bruders. So, das ist. Aha. So, what did you put for this one? You need an apostrophe because the name Klaus already ends in an S. So the word order is fine, but because it ends in an S, we need an apostrophe on the name. Ist das Karin's? So we're going to put an S on it to show possession. Word order is fine. We don't need to change it. Ist das Karin's Sohn? We don't put an apostrophe this time because Karin, the name, doesn't end in an S naturally. Nein, das ist der Sohn eines Arztes. And again, this one needs an ES. And the reason for that is if you think about it, that sound at the end, Arzt, it's quite difficult to stick in it. Arzt. Yeah, you need the little E to bridge that sound. Okay. Übung B, anders ausdrücken. Combine the information in the 2 sentences in just 1 sentence. You will need to use genitive forms to say whose items they are. I have done the first one for you as an example, so let's take a look at that first. So, the 2 sentences are here. Dort sind die Schuhe. The shoes are there. Die Schuhe gehören meiner Mutter. The shoes belong to my mother. So if we want to put those together into one sentence, we would end up with Dort sind die Schuhe meiner Mutter. There are my mother's shoes, or my mother's shoes are there, over there. Okay? So you see what the thing is, and then see what the relationship between the two things is. Who owns what? What is belong to by something? Wow, that's really bad English grammar. We want to see the relationship, the possessive nature of the relationship of two nouns, and put them together into one sentence. I'm making this sound way more complicated than it needs to be. Okay, let me read the other sentences for you. And what I'm going to do is I'm not only going to translate them, I'm going to tell you what the sentence should be once it's complete in English. Okay. Nummer 2. Die Katze ist weggelaufen. Die Katze gehört die Eltern. The cat ran away. The cat belongs to the parents. So the sentence we want to make here is the parents' cat ran away. Okay. Nummer 3. Ich gehe zu dem Haus. Actually, this should be zum. Ich gehe zum Haus. Das Haus gehört die Freunde. I go to the house. The house belongs to the friends. So in English, the full sentence would be, I go to the friend's house. Nummer 4. Ich kann das Buch nicht finden. Das Buch gehört der Bruder. I can't find the book. The book belongs to the brother. So the complete sentence would be, I can't find the brother's book. 5. Der Vater wohnt in Irland. Ein Freund ist sein Sohn. The father lives in Ireland. A friend is his son. The translation of the full sentence would be, what would the translation be? The father of a friend lives in Ireland. A friend's father lives in Ireland. Okay. Pause the video now and try writing these two sentences as one using the genitive. I will give you 3 seconds and then I'll reveal the answers. In 3, 2, 1. Okay, die Katze ist weggelaufen. Let's whip this out. Die Katze gehört die Eltern. Die Katze, and we're going to put in our genitive here. Eltern is plural. Die Katze der Eltern. Feminine and plural don't take a noun ending. And that's it. Die Katze der Eltern ist weggelaufen. The parents' cat ran away. The cat of the parents ran away. Ich gehe zum Haus. And we want to put in the genitive afterwards. Freunde is plural. There's no noun ending. So we just pop it in right there. Ich gehe zum Haus der Freunde. I go to the house of the friends. And then Nummer 4. Ich kann das Buch nicht finden. The book belongs to the brother. Ich kann das Buch des, and then brother is masculine, so Bruders. Ich kann das Buch des Bruders nicht finden. It's masculine, so we stick an S on the end. And der Vater wohnt in Irland, ein Freund ist sein Sohn. This one's a little different. Oh, no, it's not a little different. What am I talking about? It's exactly the same word order. Just remember that Freund is masculine, yeah? So it's going to need an S. Eines Freundes. This one also has an ES. Der Vater eines Freundes wohnt in Irland. The father of a friend lives in England. Good. Hopefully these weren't too difficult. We have one last activity. C. Übung C. Und jetzt übersetzen. Now translate the English sentences into German. Remember that you'll have to use genitive forms for the people involved. These sentences should be structured just like the results of section B. So the ones that we just did, the sentence structure is going to be more or less the same. for part C. And what we're doing is translating the English into German. I will read the 5 sentences for you now, give you a chance to pause the video, and then reveal the answers. Number 1, the sister's husband is very nice. Number 2, I went to a friend's party. Number 3, I don't know the policemen's names. Number 4, is this the scientist's computer? The word scientist, by the way, is der Wissenschaftler. If it's masculine, you could also make it feminine, die Wissenschaftlerin. And number 5, I forget the teacher's address. Okay, pause the video now. You might need to use a dictionary to check some words, but feel free to do that. Take your time. There's no rush. Enjoy the experience of working with the genitive. I will reveal the answers in 3, 2, 1. Okay, the sister's husband is very nice. So undo the English first. Put it the other way round. The husband of the sister. Der Mann of the sister, der Schwester, ist sehr nett. Der Mann der Schwester ist sehr nett. I went to a friend's party. Undo the English. Put it the other way around. I went to the party of a friend. Oh, this is actually in the past tense. Let's change it to the present tense. It'll make things a little bit easier for us. Ich gehe zur Party eines Freundes. Okay, so here it's masculine, but it also could have been eine Freundin if you wanted. It could have been a female friend. So eines Freundes or eine Freundin, both are fine. I don't know the policemen's names. Ich kenne die Namen. And policeman, this is actually plural. It's not policeman, it's policeman, so it's plural. Der Polizisten, die Namen der Polizisten nicht. Is this the scientist's computer? Ist das der Computer? Ist das der Computer des Wissenschaftlers? If it was masculine, it would be that. If it's feminine, it would be Wissenschaftlerin. So des Wissenschaftlers for a man, or der Wissenschaftlerin for a female scientist. I forget the teacher's address. Ich vergesse die Adresse. Only one D in German, right? Yeah, sorry, my mistake. Ich vergesse die Adresse. And again, you can pick masculine or feminine teacher, whichever you prefer. I'll do both. Des Lehrers or die Lehrerin. Ich vergesse die Adresse des Lehrers oder die Oh, why did I write die? Der Lehrerin, mein Fehler. Okay. One more time. Der Mann der Schwester ist sehr nett. Ich gehe zur Party eines Freundes oder ich gehe zur Party einer Freundin. Ich kenne die Namen der Polizisten nicht. Ist das der Computer des Wissenschaftlers oder ist das der Computer der Wissenschaftlerin? Ich vergesse die Adresse des Lehrers oder ich vergesse die Adresse der Lehrerin. I hope this was a useful video and has now helped you to work out what the cases are in German and how they work with particular regard to the genitive. If you have any questions about the genitive or any of the cases really, please do feel free to write a comment down in the comment section below. And if this video has helped you, do leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, so that we can reach more learners of German out there and help them on their way to hopefully fluency. Okay, ich wünsche euch einen schönen Tag und bis zum nächsten Mal. I wish you all a pleasant day and I'll see you next time. Tschüss. Ciao.